This conference will now be recorded.
Any additions to the agenda?
Good morning, Reeve Council. Administration has 3 additions for Council to consider. First of all, 4A under CAO report. I do have an update on the data center that's being proposed for the region. 12B, we had missed adding this to the agenda, and Council wished to talk about the joint Council meeting as well as the subsequent follow-up meeting with the Brazeau Foundation, the Drayton Valley Foundation. And I have one brief item under closed, item 32A, and it would be under access to information, section 30, regarding land in the hamlet of Cynthia.
That's in the closed?
That would be in closed, Reeve.
Cynthia lands? Glenn asked what the numbers were on the Cynthia.
That would be Access to Information Act, section 30.
Anybody else got any additions? Glenn? No. All right, a motion to approve the agenda with the additions. Carol?
I move to adopt the agenda for the May 19th council meeting with additions.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Adoption of the minutes, May 5th. Any comments? For good? Somebody want to make a motion? Glenn?
I move to adopt the minutes of the May 5th, 2026 regular council meeting.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Follow-up action list?
One item today, Reeve, that's coming off the list is before Council. Community Services will be addressing motion number 78 regarding the crossing issue on Range Road 73.
Okay. Who's going to present that?
That will be Community Services, Mr. Chambers, along with Jesse Szymanski, I believe.
Okay, we'll get a motion to accept the follow-up action list as presented first. Carol?
Actually, if I may, Reeve, I'd just like to ask a couple questions on the follow-up action list.
Sure.
Under motion 127 of the letter of concern sent in regards to the water license, has this gone to public hearing yet? Does anybody know if that's gone to public hearing yet?
Not aware that it's gone to public hearing, Councillor. I did follow up after the letter was sent. I did follow up with Environment and Protected Areas, and I've not heard any update back from them to this point.
Okay, thank you. And also under 153, administration to resolve the unsightly premises at Moose Hill Community Hall. Are we still waiting for provincial response on that item?
Unfortunately, Councillor, we're still waiting for provincial response on that item, despite regular communications and encouragements.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the follow-up action list as presented.
I make that motion to approve the follow-up action list as presented.
Discussion? All in favor? You guys don't start putting up your hands, or you're not even going to be mentioned in the minutes.
That's a good thing.
Carol knows her job now. Put your hand up. All right. Okay, so let's hear from the presenters here. Morning.
Out of order a little bit, or are you okay with that?
What's that?
You want to see
Oh, you know, he usually doesn't say much, so, but we'll listen to Rudy anyway. Sorry, just take a break. My fault.
Thank you, Reid. I'll keep it short. I know that council's had a lot of questions from residents regarding this so-called data center for our region, and there's been very little information brought forward that I've been able to find to assist council in answering these questions. We know that it's an organization called Crusoe AI, and they're working in conjunction with an organization called Kalina Power, and they are proposing that they will be generating power with the use of natural gas to run this AI center, and it's being referred to as the All-Psych Energy Park. And we've struggled to find information, so I reached out to the Minister of Utilities and Affordability, Minister Neudorf, and asked if he could look into it, because it seems like there's a lot of activity and we've just been unaware as a municipality. After the agenda was printed, Minister Neudorf got back to me last Thursday at lunchtime, and he indicated that the reason Brazeau County has not heard anything about this AI center to this point is because it's not located in Brazeau County. He indicated that this proposed project is actually located in Leduc County.
Now, generally, there's half a mile buffer that we have to let each other know what goes on between the two municipalities?
We typically would have an intermunicipal development agreement around those perimeters. I don't know what our arrangement is with the County of Leduc. I do have a call into my counterpart there, and I've not yet heard back from him to get further information. But based on the information that we've heard and seen online, one would expect that it would be fairly close to the boundary of Brazeau County, but it is in Leduc.
Okay, so it could be further than a half a mile away. Well, that helps a little bit, right? Go ahead, Shane?
So we have been in contact with Leduc County about this in some way?
As soon as I heard from Minister Neudorf regarding the location of the project, I reached out to my counterpart at Leduc County and immediately, and haven't heard back from him yet.
Okay.
So, I think it's interesting when you look at just as a little bit of side information, and I know people have gone online, and it indicates that the Kalina Power application to ASO is for a location in Brazeau County. But I think also when you do your Google searches, it says that All-Psych is at the intersection of Highway 39 and Highway 22. So that's the information that you get when you go online.
So we'll have to make a note of this in our communication with the public, because we've been telling them so far we don't know anything about it. Now all of a sudden we know something about it, so we should be sending a message out to the public saying that after hearing a number of issues, whatever we do, that there has been an application for a data center in the county of Leduc.
Yeah, I thank you, Reeve. I think that's a good idea. I would like to hear back from my counterpart at Leduc County first and find out where they're at with the project, and then we can provide a fulsome update to our residents.
Okay, sounds good. Shane and then Kara.
Just one more note on that. With data centers being such a hot button topic, is that not something we should be looking at with all of our surrounding municipalities, like the intermunicipal collaboration stuff with the data centers, to make sure that, you know, it's their county, they can do what they want, but maybe we could be like, can we have a spot at the table just to hear and discuss, especially when it's close?
I don't know if you want to stir up a hornet's nest when the hornet's nest isn't there right now. So I would suggest we could do something in the communication side of things, the media, and then see what happens. We could always send a note off, you know, these data centers are becoming interesting to deal with, but have you heard what's going on, you know, and if nothing, away we go. Kara?
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, do we have anything in our land use bylaw around data centers? And my concern is if we don't, then we're silent on it, which means we allow them. And then it falls on to ASO and AUC rules, and we actually have little to no say, unless we put provisions within our land use bylaw.
Thank you. Through the Reeve to Councillor Westland, good point. In our current land use bylaw and our municipal development plans, data centers are not currently considered. It's something that we do need to work on, and as well, because we don't have them considered, even if we did have intermunicipal development planned, those would not be notified in this process, so.
So is this a commercial application or is it an industrial application? Like where would it fit? Because if it's industrial, isn't the province going to be permitting that anyway? You know, like the oil and gas facilities and,
To the Reeve, I would, my suspicion is that it is industrial, and it would go through those typical industrial applications like AER and ASO, so it would probably fall under those categories.
Glenn?
Thank you. So at our MPC meeting, we did have a discussion, open table. That was after the meeting, but I believe staff did say that they were starting to work towards getting something done on the land use bylaws for AI data centers. My biggest concern, I guess, we already know that they use a lot of water and that they emit a lot of emissions just from those motors, the gas turbines. It's in the megatons. So we don't know where this is going to be exactly in Leduc County yet, but maybe just to put it in everyone's thoughts, maybe we should consider just doing basic groundwater level testing, the wells closest to that, wherever the facility is going to be, and then even we could lobby the West Central Airshed to set up a 24-hour a day monitoring station, you know, nearby, just to give everyone an idea of what the pollution was pre-AI data center and what it is after the fact. So we could, for our residents, we should maybe consider just doing something to give them some peace of mind that what's happening in Leduc County isn't impacting the farmers and the residents in ours.
Now, the airshed was set up to monitor air quality on a regional basis, not spot monitoring. That's a different process. We may want to check with West Central to see what's their closest sample points and whether or not this general area is covered in the regional quality monitoring. So the West Central wasn't set up to do spot monitoring. That's left for industry to do that and provide the appropriate information. But the airsheds were set up to monitor air quality on a regional basis. That's why there's monitors in Hinton, there's some in Drayton Valley, and they're spread out all over the place, but they're not set up to be rated as point source. That's a different type of monitoring.
Well, they
and
do.
That's something that you might want to actually encourage if this data center becomes a reality. Then you could talk to West Central and say, do you think you could put a monitor someplace that will catch it at least downwind of where the site is at? You guys follow what I'm saying, right?
They have expanded that. So Jasper actually had a temporary unit sent in after the fires to monitor, and now they actually have monitors that will attach to light poles. And so they're not like a typical airshed. They just attach to your light poles around your town or whatever, and then it picks up pollution that way as well. So they're expanding on what they can do, but for sure an airshed, and I believe that airshed, if we have to get one, should be paid for by the data center, not, you know, that would be the industry that you'd want to target and ask, and that's what they would typically do is and go and say, hey, you're going to have a data center here. Would you guys be considering, you know, letting us put an airshed close by?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, anything else, folks? Motion to accept the information in regards to data centers? Shane?
I move to accept the information from the data centers as presented.
Discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous. Star Wars, no, Jesse.
So during the February 17th regular council meeting, a following motion, 7826-217, was moved by Councillor Harris to direct administration to investigate and bring back further information regarding a crossing issue at Range Road 73, and it had been carried unanimously. Further to that, we as administration, we're tasked with reviewing our files on the concern of that area. You referred to attachment 1 on page 40. It shows a map overview of the area. It's facing facing west. The northbound traffic is following the curve. It's showing it from the resident's perspective from the subdivision there, so where the proposed crosswalk was intended to go at the time. The path construction was already underway, from my understanding, and it was brought to Public Works' attention as it was already well underway. So at that time, it was my understanding that it couldn't have just been added. There was no prior budgeting or anything in place. So we were tasked to come back, address the overall area and assessment just to see if there were if the benefits outweighed the negatives in that particular circumstance. We reviewed our records. I have not seen any additional reports coming in directly to my department with additional concerns. So I don't want to say it's just a one-off, but at the time, looking from that resident's point of view, I could see a concern they may have. I'm just not sure if it's a feasible thing or if there's a need for it. So I personally conducted some patrols. I've shared some street view photos on the following page 41, just to kind of give a visual approaching that curve. And this is under ideal road conditions, visibility, lighting. I physically drove that portion of roadway and focusing on where that potential crosswalk would be. Just parking again from where the residents would be crossing, traffic seemed to flow in volleys of 3 or so vehicles closely together. My concern is if it were at that location, especially northbound, exiting that curve with everything that's in vehicles these days, even just a momentary text message or something that takes away from somebody's attention. Best case scenario, if they were to stop. Similarly, if a second vehicle were to approach, I suspect that it could lead to a collision or an additional issue trying to solve a problem from one that may not have otherwise existed.
So where's McEachran's? Because I raised the issue during the election that they were just wondering, how do we get to the sidewalk? You know,
Right.
Either you have to walk down the ditch and back up across the road and then get to the sidewalk, or go a half a mile somewhere and come back.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that sit on there? And they were just looking for a way to get across without having to, you know, go down the hill, up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
That's like further back there, correct?
The McCracken
Yeah.
property? Yeah, it would be further to the west. So from the top image one, if you were to be traveling the opposite direction, it would be on that first portion of that kind of curve in the road prior to exiting and proceeding north onto 73.
I'll leave area
That's okay. Yeah.
to look after things. Okay, I just thought
No.
I'd raise it and
Yeah, absolutely.
and see if but that's going to be quite a ways away from that particular part of the road.
It would be.
Okay, I just raised the issue.
No, absolutely. In this particular instance, it's the poor sight lines, in my opinion, with northbound traffic. Southbound, you do have a clear line of sight approaching to where that particular crosswalk would be. There is one closer to like the River Ravine area where it services both the town of Drayton Valley side and Brazeau County. It supports a larger group of residents. If there were a crosswalk, even in this instance where there are about 8 properties, and even at, say, a ballpark figure of 20 residents, I'm unsure as to how often that would be a benefit without potentially causing an additional kind of choke point or incident or collision area. That said, should council wish, we do have a few options. We could have administration directed to conduct a traffic and pedestrian safety assessment of that location. Then we can then evaluate the sustainability or suitability of the formal crosswalk and the proximity to that corner, seeing if visibility and safety concerns would require like further consultation or a inclusion of a formal crossing or pathway, and then add that to a future capital budget project. I would refer to your judgments in that particular instance.
Sorry, say that last bit again here. I was flipping through my book.
No, it's fine. I would refer that matter to yourselves. If you so desire, we can have it brought back with consultation, have an engineer and consulting firm conduct traffic safety studies and see whether it would be a suitable location for a crosswalk.
Okay. Carol?
Through the reef to Mr. Szymanski. You've said that you've had no reports or requests from anybody in regards to crossing at this point,
No.
other than the one resident concern?
And from that, only through council was that brought to my attention. We get like more generic or general speeding concerns or what have you from residents of Range Road 73 or the Ring Road in general, but nothing specific from my department as far as the crosswalk or that request. It was only brought to my attention through this motion.
And just one more follow-up question, if I could. There are other crosswalks further to the north on that same road, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You all done, Jesse?
I'm done with this portion, yes.
Oh, okay, no, carry on then.
If there's no further questions, the next matter I have is just to bring forward our new bylaw, officer bylaw on page 43 of the agenda. Sorry, am I skipping ahead? So, as part of our comprehensive bylaw review, we're just looking to clean up the processes, update legislation with more current processes. So, starting on page 45 is the proposed draft of our bylaw enforcement bylaw. The most recent that we were previously under was from, well, the current one is from 1998, so significant changes since then. One of the main points or newest processes in this, of course, updating terminology legislation and no longer referring to the county as MD 77, some such things as that, and an appeal process should we have public complaints against an officer. The appeal process allows for residents to submit in person, in writing, or directly to administration any concerns they have against us, whether we were unprofessional or what have you. If at any point it is unfounded, it's dismissed. If it is then a legitimate concern, it can go as far as yourselves to hear the matter. Just ensuring transparency with our residents and professionalism at all times.
Do you want us to deal with these readings right now on this portion or not? Or do you want to do it at the end?
We can do it at the end, or if time allows, I would like to see, if possible, all 3 readings for this proposed bylaw be conducted at today's council session, partially to get ahead of our recruit. He graduates this Friday. Similarly, in the past, the province holds all the cards as far as appointing a peace officer status. So even though they'll have had all their training, we still need the proper procedures and policies in place for that officer, just to set them up for success. Allowing them to enforce the county bylaws while we wait for that provincial authorities and status.
Okay. Kara? Go ahead.
And thank you, through the roof to Mr. Szymanski. Could you just verify a couple things for me? In this new policy that you've got, replacing the other 3 policies, what are the key pieces that have been changed? Just the, what are the key pieces that I need to look at?
It just better lays out an appeal process, updates the terminology to current legislation, and repeals all the other former bylaws. So even though the most recent 1998 is still in effect, so are the previous 1992 and 2788, so from 1988, the original founding one. The approval of these 3 readings would then repeal the other previous outdated bylaw officer enforcement bylaws. Again, as part of the process moving forward, just of our ongoing review and cleanup processes.
Okay, thank you. I do have one other quick question. Under misuse of power, section 6, section C, part 3, it says, is frivolous or unfounded? Can you just define frivolous for me?
Yes. Whether that be a resident just trying to have an officer say fired, making up something that's completely nonsensical. Not only do we have the body cameras, the dash cameras, take detailed notes. So that would be, they say that an officer was working a shift that obviously they weren't even working. There's no documentation of it. They claim it was winter, it was summer, something that's very obvious. Only at that point would it be dismissed as either frivolous or unfounded.
Okay, thank you.
Aria?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Are you?
Yes,
Okay. You're gonna give first reading, are you?
I would like to, yes.
Okay.
I move first reading to bylaw 1246-26, bylaw enforcement officer bylaw.
Discussion? All those in favor? Oh, discussion? Carol? All in favor? Sorry. You voted, Shane? Okay. They're asking for all 3. Carol?
I would like to move second reading to bylaw 1246-26, bylaw enforcement officer bylaw.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Anybody want to go to third reading? Shane?
I move to go to third reading for 1246-26 bylaw enforcement officer bylaw.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. And final? Shane, your light's still on?
I move third reading for bylaw 1246-26 bylaw enforcement officer bylaw.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reeve, did you want a motion for the crosswalk?
Sure, you can do that. I was looking at that.
I move to receive the update report for the crosswalk on Range Road 73 as information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Hey, we are just smoking here. Pardon me? You want to take a break? Yeah. Okay, 5-minute break. Freshen up your coffee. So we've got an appointment at 10 a.m. We've got planning and development. Pardon me? Oh, sure. What are we doing with Tom? Okay, because I saw nothing in as far as the fire report, but come on down. Just take it away when you're ready.
So, good morning, Mr. Reeve, Council. I'm here this morning to provide Council with a little bit of information in regards to the Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue request for the Fire Department portable radios. My apologies, I was away on vacation last week, so I didn't get an update report to Council, but I will pass that along to your admin, and she can pass that along to you. So just to give a little bit of background in regards to radio systems, the portable radios that they are requesting and are small handheld ones. And although they are versatile, they are very limited in terms of the range in communicating from radio to radio. The range is limited to approximately 1 to 5 miles, and that's based on the terrain or the landscape that you are working in. So in regards to Brazeau County, if it's in open farm fields, the range is good. However, if you were down in the river valley or out west in a treed area, the range would be very limited. So consequently, when we had the radios, we used what is called a repeater system, which is a bunch of repeaters on towers which would boost the signal and transmit it across the county. I just want Council to be aware of that so that you're up to speed on how these radios work. So a question that then comes to mind is when we're looking at this request is what specifically is Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue going to be using these radios for? If they are in a small area, then there would be no problem transmitting from one radio to another. However, if they're looking to transmit across the county or in a large area, then it could be problematic. They could get around this in some respects by having a mobile repeater on a vehicle or in their instant command post. That could provide some benefit for them in terms of expanding the communications distance. However, that is also limited as well. In regards to the equipment that we do have, we have approximately 40 portable radios, 2 gang chargers, which will charge approximately 6 radios each. We also have 20 individual radio chargers, and then we have approximately 15 base stations. So That is the equipment that we have that has been deemed surplus. Now, having said that, the fire service does operate several programs. We have our high school program as well. We also have our summer kids camp where we use some of those radios for that purpose, and we use them in those settings so that we're not using our AFRAX radio system, which we use for emergencies. So if we were to move forward, we would respectfully request that we hold back approximately 14 portable radios and the gang chargers so that we could continue to use them for those purposes. So that would leave approximately 26 portable radios and 20 individual radio chargers for donation should council decide to move forward in that direction. The base stations would also be available for them if they would require those. Just to give council a full picture, there are some costs related to this. Naturally, the radios that we are no longer using still have value, and a portable radio with a battery and a charger could range anywhere from $80 to $240 per radio if we were to sell them or we were to sell them to a company. Upon receiving the radios, Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue will need to remove the channels, which they've already said that they were going to do. But they would also probably require some additional batteries. Some of the batteries on the radios have exceeded their time span, so that would be an additional between $40 to $70 per battery for those radios. I'm just giving you some numbers here so that you can get an idea of potential costs that might be coming down the road. As Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue has indicated, they would also take on the licensing fees for the radios. Just to give council an idea, when we were licensing those radios, it was approximately a $6,000 cost for all of the radios. Now, putting that in perspective, that includes all of the base stations, all of the portable radios, as well as the licensing for the radios that we needed on our towers. So we had quite a bit of equipment. In this respect, they would just be using the portable, so it wouldn't be quite that much, but there is a cost to those licenses for those radios. Also, on a final note, recognizing the limitations of the portable radio system in terms of their functioning of 1 to 5 miles, there might be a requirement down the road for Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue to look at additional towers or additional equipment to transmit the signal a longer distance. Just to give council an understanding, between the two municipalities, we were paying approximately $29,000 for our repeaters in our tower system for a year. So there is quite a bit of cost if you want to have complete coverage right across the county. Cell phones are cheaper, yes. They are. Now, the equipment that is being requested by Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue is also cost shared with the town. So before any decision could be made on donating that equipment, it would also have to be approved by the town as well, because it was a 50-50 cost share. So that's just something for council to consider. Another thing I want to bring forward is back in 2023 when we had our wildland fire, after that incident we very quickly realized that during these wildland fire operations we do require an incident command post. Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue has such a unit and over the past 2 years I've been trying to get an agreement with them so that if we do have a large scale incident we could use their incident command post. At this point in time, we have been unsuccessful with that, getting an agreement signed. I've dealt with numerous people back and forth. We do have the agreement written. It's all in place. We're just waiting for them to sign off on it. Just wanted to give council a bit of a heads up that we have been trying to work with them to get an agreement so that we can use their command post. Obviously, there would be costs that the county or the town would pay to use that piece of equipment, but there's been just a bit of a delay. And before we move forward with making the donation, I would respectfully request that council ask that we re-talk about this agreement first before we move forward with any donation. And that is my report. Should council have any questions? Sorry to interrupt you. There is an app that you can get for cell phones. That's quite expensive, though. It's about $500 per phone, so it's not cheap, but there is an alternative that you can use your cell phone as a portable radio.
Just a quick question here. In their letter, it says increasing our radio inventory. Do they already have radios licensed and that they're already using, and this would just be in addition to?
Correct, yeah.
I used to use radios all the time on the farm, but whenever I needed them, their batteries were dead, so it was a good place to find your dead batteries. Anyway, Shane.
How often do you call Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue to assist? Or how often are they called, do we know?
We rarely use them.
Oh,
If I can
Yeah.
clarify on that, that's usually done through the RCMP.
okay.
They make contact with them. So if we have a situation where we're looking for somebody, or we have someone lost on the river or whatnot, the RCMP will make that contact with them.
All right, but the fire department would generally be the first call for anything like that? Swiftwater rescue, any of those
Yes, correct.
technical rescue would be our fire department?
Correct.
Glenn?
Through the chair, so we've had these radios, the 40 portables. What are we paying to keep them, I guess? I didn't realize there was radio licensing fees that, so we're gonna, for the radios we have, we've just been keeping those just for the kids' camp day. What is the cost on that?
Yeah, there's no cost.
You don't have to have those radios licensed
No,
somehow?
not for that.
So Brazeau Search and Rescue wouldn't have to have theirs licensed?
Yes, they would, because they're using it for emergency situations.
But for kids' camps, there's some sort of loophole on that?
Yeah,
one that you
we
can-
don't, we haven't had.
And what is a base station?
A base station is a radio that would be in a vehicle.
Okay.
So it'd be in a vehicle, or it would be in a fire station or someplace like that.
Okay, thank you.
Does it communicate with you? These radio systems, do they communicate with the fire department?
These particular radios?
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't have any connection unless we included one of those frequencies into our radio.
Shane?
Just on a side note to the use of these radios, or the effectiveness of these radios in a search and rescue, literally less than a mile on 39. You get less than a mile of radio. So somebody could be, if you think of Carnwood area, somebody could be at that bridge at Carnwood, and the person at the top where the old gas station is, you would struggle to get a radio signal. Just with the way our terrain is and stuff, they are not, there's a reason that we change radio systems, because these are not useful for a lot of things, which is why we went with the new radios. And I see a benefit for us having them, especially for kids camp, but you guys use them still for training as well?
Not so much.
Not so
anymore.
much anymore? Okay.
Carol?
Just to follow up on Councillor Gunderson's question in regards to the licensing. So currently, you were saying that it was about $6,000 a year for the licensing.
Correct.
And another $29,000 for those repeater stations.
Correct.
Is that cost now going to be non-existent if you don't pay that anymore, is that
No,
correct?
that's correct.
So when
'Cause
you switch to the new system?
we switched to the new system. We do have to pay for radio licenses for our new AFRAX radios.
Yeah.
But we don't have to pay the tower costs or those fees, because moving to the AFRAX system, you pay more for the radio, but you don't pay for the infrastructure. So all of the towers and all of that part of it is all taken care of by the province. So that's the nice part about the AFRAC system, but you do pay an arm and a leg for each radio. Each radio is approximately $7,000 to $8,000 a radio. So you pay for that technology, but you don't have to do the maintenance costs.
So it's front-end loaded.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Shane?
Those radios are essentially only good to speak with each other, like RCMP, peace officers, you guys are on, everybody's on AFRACs except for these radios, is that correct?
That's correct. Again, from a fire perspective, I don't have any issue making the donation. That's not a problem. I mean, if they want to use them, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Just wanted council to be aware there are some limitations to them, and there are some costs that might come forward if they're not if they don't work the way they are anticipating them to work. So.
Are they aware of the functionality of these radios, like less than a mile connection, those types of things, not communicating with other agencies?
I am not sure. This letter came through council. We haven't really had a lot of discussion with them. I know that Lee Chambers had been talking with them beforehand and had passed these concerns on, but I'm not sure. Anything to add?
I don't mean to interrupt. If I can just speak just as far as the AFRAX network and as well with the Brazeau Search and Rescue. I signed an agreement with them almost a year ago, so our radios are capable of dual band. That's how we speak with our public works employees as well as search and rescue. So I can switch between frequencies. So we do have the option. I have already had our radios updated with all the current AFRAX channels just less than a month ago. Purged all the former repeater channels that the fire department once had, and now have the fire department's most current operating AFRAX channels as well. I put it in for the one-off situation, preparing for worst case scenarios, wildfires, floods, where we would potentially be using search and rescue for their support. So that was all I wanted to add. It was a little to no cost at that time. It was just, again, just extending that olive branch to work with another partnering agency and have effective, not as effective communication as we would on an AFRAX network, but at least an option should they need our assistance and vice versa. That's all I wanted to add.
With all the other agencies, and it's just hard to swallow the pill of the cost of all of that, and going to the AFRAC system is pretty pricey as well, because if every radio is 7,000 to 8,000 and you need 10, that's 80,000 right there. So I don't have a suggestion. It's like I'm looking at these radios that they have, they're kind of like a high-end citizen type walkie-talkies that I buy a couple $100 a radio sort of thing, and they're good but limited. You know, like you say, good for about a mile. They say 5 miles, but you get a mile if you're lucky, especially in the bush or hills and valleys.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I'm not opposed to making the donation to them if they want to use them. I think I'd like to ask them a few more questions in terms of what is your end game with this? Are you planning to use them within a mile of each other, or are you planning to extend the distance? Because if you're extending the distance, then there could be some problems.
Like I can see, you know, somebody gets lost or there's a wreck somewhere. You're not going to be in the whole county at once. You're going to be in a
That's correct.
specific area of some size, but not the whole county.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless there was some major wreck, but then that's a different story altogether too.
Yeah.
Glenn?
Through the chair to the chief, how many base stations in total were there?
I think we have approximately 15, approximately. I'm not, I think we have about 15, but I'm not sure if all of them are working properly. So
Right. Were
roughly
you
about
looking to sell them or get rid of them, or?
Yeah, we would just sell them, primarily sell them, and there's companies that will sell them and then they refurbish them and then they sell them.
When you read into this letter, are they looking for those base stations, do you believe, or are we out of that scope, or?
From what I understand, they're just looking for the portable radios themselves.
The 26 portables and the 20 chargers?
Correct.
Okay, that's reasonable. I think everyone that's ever worked in the oil field knows how pathetic those radios are. The batteries don't last very long. Usually if you press a button, all it does is squeal at you. And it doesn't, if you're getting a mile, it would amaze me. My experience has been 400 or 500 meters. It starts to get staticky. If you're inside of a building, forget it. It's not going to work at all. But I mean, I believe they would know, they would understand the limitations of these. They're heavy. Batteries, are not a lot of life in them, and like I said, they're clunky, they're expensive. I assume that I mean, we've all dealt with these radios, we know, so I'm assuming they already know. They're all oil field. They understand what the limitations are of these. So I kind of get what they're saying. If we're not going to use them, would you mind, and I know how expensive they were to purchase. It's in the thousands to purchase a portable, at the time, and that was considered the best of the best. But I agree that there's better radios on Amazon, but if this is what they're asking for, and we don't give a lot to the Brazeau Search and Rescue, we really don't, this would be a very nice contribution to give them a win anyways. They do a lot for our community, they don't ask for much.
Like I said, they're a good place to store your dead batteries. Shane?
I just want to confirm, they never came to discuss this with you before they sent this letter? Has there been any talk between you guys about this beforehand?
No, the only information I received was a couple of months ago through Lee Chambers. He sent me an email in regards to it, and then getting the letter that was sent.
I think there would need to be a little bit more talk between the two, because they both need to understand what they're losing and what they're gaining before we can just give assets away. And we haven't even talked to the town yet.
Well, I see they're of no value, so getting rid of the portable radios is not a problem. And if there's some value to the base stations, fine, sell them, if you can. But I don't know what the rest of you guys are thinking, but I don't have a problem giving them to them because they're of no value to us, and there's no value on the marketplace for them. Glenn?
I'm ready to give a motion. I move that Brazeau County Council approves the donation of 26 portable, 20 chargers, with the joint approval of the Town of Drayton Valley Council to the Brazeau Regional Search and Rescue.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous? Okay. We'll take a 10-minute break. 7 minutes.
I have such a cool story to share when you're done your presentation.
Yes, so cool.
I might actually start to cry this morning.
All right, I'll call the meeting back to together. Come forward if you'd like, and give us a good update on the critical care anywhere with the STARS ambulance.
Well, first, I know I already said it, but can I say it again? I'm so pleased. I've been, missed a couple of years with you, but now I'm back. And I am so pleased to see all of you and continuing to work with all of you.
Can you speak more into the microphone?
Sure.
You can sit and relax if you want there. I can hear you now.
Okay. So I'm extremely honored to continue to work with your council. There's a couple of you that I've been working with probably the last 15 years. So this is my 20th year with STARS, and working with municipal councils for the province of Alberta and BC. And I'm just elated to see all of you again. So thank you for this opportunity to bring you your annual update. Thank you. So, last December 1st, 2025 marked the actual 40th anniversary of STARS in Alberta. 40 years of serving Albertans. More than 63,000 missions flown in that time. And more importantly, always maintaining our charitable model, meaning there is no bill to the patient. None of that is possible without partnership. So we thank Brazeau County for being a partner with STARS for 31 years now. So that's something to really be proud of as we move forward. Always remembering that if you ever find yourself in a worst case critical situation, STARS is your best hope. Next slide, please. And so Dr. Greg Powell, it was his vision and why STARS was born. A young woman in southern, oh, sorry, it's going to skip a little bit. A young woman in southern Alberta lost her life due to blood loss. And he, at the time, was the chief medical officer at the Foothills Hospital and said something has to be done. And STARS was born. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, before we could celebrate his legacy on the 40th anniversary, we lost Dr. Powell last year. And it was devastating to our team. But we have now a new vision, and that is we will carry on his legacy for the next 40 years, for our children and our grandchildren and those generations yet to come. Next slide, please. So we are now under the leadership of Dr. John Froh. He is the new president and CEO of STARS. He is not new to STARS. He has been with STARS 13 years. Previously held the role of chief medical officer for all 6 bases across 3 provinces in Western Canada. So I assure you we are in very good hands. Next slide, please. Currently now, we are at $36.6 million per year operational costs for 3 bases in Alberta, so roughly $12.2 million per base. We do continue to have an affiliation agreement in place with Alberta Health Services for block funding of $15 million per year. So this represents 41% of operational costs, meaning that 59% must still be fundraised. Of that is, of course, our very beloved Alberta Lottery that just finished here not too long ago. The Alberta Lottery has been a mainstay for STARS in Alberta. We usually generate, it was down a little bit this year, usually we generate close to $11.5 to $12 million per year net. So it almost pays for 1 base in Alberta. So even though numbers were down this year, like it's still a significant part of being able to do the fundraising for operations. Of course, in addition, this operations does not include administration costs. It does not include education and training or any of the highly specialized equipment that we have on board. We reach out to individuals and the corporate sector for additional dollars on top of the 59% in order to fund these other items each year. So it is a significant undertaking each year to find funds for STARS. Next slide, please. So of course, a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is the interior of the new H145s. We have 10 in total in the fleet. They have a complete intensive care unit working environment. It is an airborne ICU, as you can see. More than 80% of our missions, first is cardiac, followed by vehicle incident, other medical, which includes stroke, as well as trauma. So you can see that it's very high-level critical care cases for the majority of everything we do every day. We also are a leader in innovation in the fact that we have carried blood on board for more than 10 years now. Universal blood can be accepted by any one of us. Previously, we were always carrying 2 units of universal blood, but now because we have seen so many high-level trauma cases and very high-risk patients that are at risk of bleeding out, we are now carrying 4 units of universal blood on board. Last year, we also did bring you information about the new massive hemorrhage protocol. So this is a special medication that helps these very high-risk patients that Once we've given the first 2 units of blood, we can apply the fibrinogen, which is the massive hemorrhage protocol, and it helps these types of patients to build blood clots so that it's buying them time while we can then apply the second 2 units of blood while we are en route to tertiary care. It is a game changer for these very high-risk patients. We also carry thrombolytics on board for heart attack and stroke, as well as I mentioned the highly specialized equipment. And next year's update will include a more in-depth look at some of the highly specialized equipment. So hopefully you will look forward to that. Next slide, please. It's really important that STARS is borderless. All 10 helicopters and all crew members cross all borders across Western Canada, especially involving mass casualty incidents. We did respond last year to the June event in Banff and area for the rock slide event. Over the past 6 or 7 years, there's been some really significant multi-casualty incidents across all provinces in Western Canada, and we have been able to provide interprovincial multiple helicopter response. This is a really key aspect when we're working with all chain of survival partners, that we're able to bring multiple helicopters if needed. Next slide, please. So this is a 5-year overview within Brazeau County boundaries. So 102 total missions flown. I'm so sorry that that's doing that. Average about 20 missions per year on average. Also looking at the fact that Drayton Valley Hospital interfacility transfers, significant amount there as well. We are a key asset to your local hospital in the fact that many of these missions were patients that were responded to by local ground ambulance, and they were delivered to the nearest hospital, which is your Drayton Valley Hospital. But because it was critical, now the hospital has called STARS to intervene and come to get these patients. So including Drayton Valley Hospital is a very important aspect of what's actually happening throughout all of your rural areas. So an average of 20 missions per year. Now, if we look on the map on the left side, the blue dots represent those 102 missions where all the different locations were that the STARS helicopter landed. So you can see we cover many parts of your county and for your rural residents as well. Next slide, please. Of course, virtual care as well now. Virtual care is a key aspect. In using the latest technology now, we are able to provide virtual care. So if, for instance, the helicopter is out on another mission and the hospital calls with a trauma patient and we cannot respond because they're out on another mission, does not mean that we cannot provide critical care virtually. So we can guide your doctors and your nurses for not only just medical guidance, but procedural guidance too, if let's say that they may need to intubate a patient. Your local physicians and nurses, they don't do this every day like STARS crew members and our physicians. Our transport physicians are available out of our dispatch center 24/7. So they can be providing critical care virtually at any time when needed. Next slide, please. And of course, I'm always happy and excited to bring you new news about the International Simulation Competition, the Air Medical Transport Conference. This is a worldwide competition. And like systems, most of them being for-profit organizations, they will send a team of 2 each year to compete internationally on the world stage. STARS holds its own internal competition amongst all our bases each year, allowing only 1 team of 2 out of all bases to have the honor to represent STARS internationally. We have participated for 23 years straight, and very proud to say that our team has placed top 3 in the world all 23 years. And we, once again, last October 28th at the 2025 competition, STARS team took first place again for the 9th time in the world. We are very proud of our crew members and the critical expertise that they have, and at the same time, very proud and honored to continue to bring your rural residents the highest level of critical care available in Alberta. There is a reason why STARS is the dedicated critical care provider in all 3 provinces that we operate across Western Canada. Next slide, please. So this is going to show you that where we're at on the municipal side of things for municipal partnership. We're currently at 95% of the entire province is in partnership, which includes Brazeau County. One click, please. These will show you the municipalities that currently have come on board, but they are less than the minimum $2 per capita that we request. And I have put forward graduated proposals to each one of these councils that they will incrementally work towards reaching the $2 per capita minimum. One click, please. This represents every regional leader across the entire province who is giving at a minimum $2 per capita or higher, up to $100 per capita, and everything in between. These are our regional leaders, which includes Brazeau County. One click, please. This shows you our 9 current provincial leaders in the teal, meaning that they have given more than $500,000 or more than $1 million. Some of these have given more than $3 million accumulatively over the years in support of STARS. We are at a fixed rate of support of up to $250,000 per year and on standing motion like yourselves, meaning we are a line item in your budget each year. This year we are going to welcome 3 more provincial leaders. Special Areas next month is going to have their logo unveiling, as well as Mountain View County, and we are planning for one in the summer with Foothills County. So this is really a representative of a solid partnership across our province that we are all working together and providing some kind of sustainable support. One more click, please. Now this will show you all outlined in red, every single county or municipal district that has a complete regional partnership. Since last year, we have added 16 more complete regional partnerships. This means that every town and village that lies within a county's boundaries is also a supporter of STARS along with their county. So you are very close to becoming a complete regional partnership. I am very proud to say that this year, Town of Drayton Valley came on board as a regional leader as well. So we are just missing Breton within your area. We did send a request letter to them, but we did not hear anything back. I want to let you know that sometimes it is a hardship for some of these very smaller places. We do have 3 or 4 other counties that have contributed on their behalf and added to their annual amount. So for Breton, in their area, it might be maybe $1,000 a year to ask you if that would be something you would consider, so we would have another complete regional partnership within Brazeau County, since we have Town of Drayton Valley on board as a regional leader. So something to consider. Next slide, please. In closing, I want to say thank you very much, Brazeau County. Thank you for 31 years in partnership. Have a good look at this photo. We are dedicated that we will provide critical care anywhere. And as a regional leader, you're currently at $16,500 per year on a standing motion. Thank you for that, because that is what's creating sustainable support. When I showed you on the map, all of the regional leaders and the provincial leaders, they are all like yourselves on a fixed rate of support and a standing motion, so we know what we can count on each year, because I'm pre-warning everyone that next year I will be asking for a small incremental increase as well. Fuel prices are through the roof. We have no control over how many missions we fly every year, but the mission volume continues to rise each year. in the very beginning of STARS in 1985 with the first base in Calgary, we flew 50 missions per year. Last year, across 6 bases across Western Canada, we flew almost 3,700 missions. We need that sustainable support as we continue to move forward for that sustainable plan for the next 40 years. So we appreciate and thank you very much for your partnership. All done.
The STARS, certainly a high-class ambulance system that is much needed, and there's been several of us that have had an experience to go for a flight. It wasn't a fun flight. Kara?
Thank you. Just wanted to share, I let Glenda know I was going to share a story too. On March 16th of this year, try not to cry. My daughter got to meet her STAR crew after almost 11 years to the date when they saved her life. She was an inter-hospital transfer from Drayton Valley, and actually her accident actually just happened on the other side of the county line. So that's, when you're in an emergency, there's no boundaries, and there shouldn't be, depending on where things happen. She was actually right across the road in Parkland County. But she did get to meet 2 of the 4 STARS crews. They still work there after all those years when one of her pilots had actually retired. And unfortunately, her other nurse had passed away from cancer, but they shared his story with us too as well, so that we were aware, and it's a great way of honoring him and respecting the work that he did for the organization. They were happy to share. Most of your employees are very long-term, like we're talking 20 plus years. So when you become a paramedic or a pilot, they don't have staff changeover. It's usually through retirement or unfortunately just, cancer, those types of things. But yeah, it was amazing. So thank you.
I'm so glad that happened.
Yeah.
A lot of patients don't realize, when we turn the patient over to Alberta Health Services at the tertiary care, then we no longer have any access to them if they don't reach out to us because of FOIP. We have no access to know, and our crew members to know, what happened with that patient. Did they go on to live full lives? We welcome every VIP that reaches out to us to say, I'd like to meet my crew, or I'd like to have a family base tour and see the helicopter and these kind of things. So please continue to pass that message along to any of the VIPs that that it's as rewarding and healing and comforting for the patient as well as for our crew members to be able to be reunited. So please pass that on.
You say it would only cost Brazeau another $1,000 a year to include Breton?
Yeah.
I believe that I'm basing that on that they would have maybe about a 500 population, so that would be at the $2 per capita, yes.
Okay, I don't know what you guys think. I think that'd be a worthwhile
100%.
thing to actually do. Shane?
I don't know, would that be?
Huh?
From an emergency services side point of view, when I was a firefighter, having STARS come out was like the best thing, because you're not just going to get an ambulance, you're going to get a doctor. And like having a doctor drop down, amazing. So.
Are you making a motion?
I can make a motion, unless Kara, do you want to make the motion?
No, it's okay.
No,
I'm still tearing up.
You make the motion, because it sounds better if you're crying over me.
I did, just having the discussion, because with council and through the chair to administration, if we were to, so that what I think we're aiming for here today is to make us a complete regional, but we've already set our budget, so if we were to increase our budget, I would suspect it would be between 500 and 600 people there, so it'd be between 1,000, I could say up to $1,200 for Breton. Where would the money would be coming from? I just want to make sure the motion's complete.
Mr. Swap is not here this week, but I would suggest to council we could just do it through taxation. There would be room there for this small amount. I think the recent Alberta population for Breton, excuse me, is 549 people. So.
Okay, so if I say up to 1,200, then we're covered. Okay, I move that Brazeau County donate an additional up to $1,200 to STARS on behalf of the Village of Breton coming from taxation.
Discussion? All those in favor? Okay, carried unanimous.
I have a follow-up motion too.
Follow-up motion to
Yeah.
receive the information?
I move to direct administration to bring back the STARS donation for consideration in the 2027 budget to be included within the standing motion for Brazeau County's continued donation to STARS. So that
Okay.
we can include Breton going forward, that it doesn't have to keep coming back, so.
Discussion? All those in favor? Thanks. Oh, no.
The other question I have through the chair to Glenda is there an opportunity for council to do a tour of the Star Space in Edmonton?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If we can come up with a date or sometime that you may all be in Edmonton for a conference or something like that, the more notice, the better, because I have to get it approved through operations, that they don't have, other engineering things that would conflict. So the more notice, but for sure, absolutely, we would super welcome that opportunity to host your entire council, because seeing is believing. And with the brand-new helicopter that I'm sure a lot of you have not seen, that it is an amazing, as you saw in the photo, intensive care unit environment. So, and the crews love to meet our long-standing partners.
It would be less emotional this time for me to have a tour. That was the neat thing when I was there in March with my family, to thank our STARS crew. It was a unique opportunity. They were saying they were averaging about 3 missions a day out of the Edmonton base. We happened to be there, all the crews and all the helicopters were actually still in. And then they had another helicopter from Saskatchewan that was it was really neat to see because it was in pieces. They were, it was up for maintenance, but they completely took the plane apart, or the helicopter apart, and then they reassemble it. It honestly, it's hard to describe the feeling walking into that building.
True.
And then they had crews they were training. So they were doing real life scenario training too as well. So we got to just stand back and watch what that entails. So I would highly encourage if there is that opportunity, that council see.
Yes, please let me know if you find that you're going to be attending some other meetings or something, that you're actually going to be in the area. Just please let me know, and we will make it happen, because it really is, another aspect that's so vital to your understanding of what we really bring to the table. We're very fortunate to not only have long-term crew members, but also our 24-hour engineers as well at all bases, so that we can stay operational as much as possible. We do all of our maintenance in-house. We have just an unbelievable team.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for coming out here. It's always interesting, and that's why I'm 15 minutes late right now on my agenda. But
I'm sorry.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank
That's all
you.
right.
Okay, I brought you the calendar and the newsletter, and I did bring a set for your fire chief as well.
Okay.
Want to give them a shout out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
I think she brought up something interesting, because it's our firefighters, correct me if I'm wrong, when we do get a hospital transfer, they call our fire crews in to shut down the street in front of the hospital and help with the landing and takeoff. So they get called quite regularly, our fire department, for that, so.
Thank you so much.
16 minutes late now.
I'm sorry.
I want to squeeze in planning and development, because I was supposed to do this at 10:15, but I didn't want to interrupt the STARS presentation. Take it away. We need a motion to go into public hearing. Kara?
I move to go into public hearing for bylaw 1241-26.
Discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous.
Good morning, Council. Rezoning application 26A-004, located on pages 29 through 37 of the agenda package, has been submitted to rezone approximately 11.1 acres from agricultural to agricultural holdings within a portion of Northwest 29-48-8 west of the 5th Meridian, which would allow for the subdivision of an equally sized parcel. The property is located north of Township Road 484 and immediately east of Range Road 85, from which both the proposed lot and the remnant parcel will have access. And that can be found on page 31 on the land location map. The application was circulated for review and comments to external agencies, internal departments, and adjacent landowners. External comments were received from TELUS and ATCO Distribution and ATCO Transmission, which identified that they had no concerns or objections. Pembina Pipeline Corporation has no concerns but shared information regarding future development of the property, which will be shared with the applicant. Fortis Alberta advised that easements are required, which will become a recommended condition of subdivision to the Municipal Planning Commission. Internal comments were provided by Public Works and Agricultural Services. Public Works advised that the existing approaches meet county specifications, but road widening will be required along the western boundary of both the proposed lot and the remnant parcel, and this will be addressed at the subdivision stage. Agricultural Services advised of the soil conditions but had no concerns regarding the rezoning or subdivision, and no letters were received from adjacent landowners. The policy considerations were set out in the council report on April 21st and confirmed that the proposed rezoning is consistent with our municipal development plan and the land use bylaw, and that the lands do not fall within any intermunicipal development plan or area structure plan. This bylaw is before council today for second and third readings to bylaw 1241-26 for the rezoning of approximately 11.1 acres from agricultural to agricultural holdings within a portion of Northwest 2848-8 west of the 5th Meridian. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anybody online that wants to speak for or against this particular application? Nobody online, Tina? Okay. Anyone from council got any questions? All right. We'll make a motion to come out of public hearing. Shane?
I move that Brazeau County Council come out of public hearing for land use bylaw amendment bylaw 1241-26 to rezone a portion of Northwest 2948-8 west of 5th from agricultural to agricultural holdings at 10:32.
Discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Aria?
I move second reading to bylaw 1241-26, proposing a portion of Northwest 2948-8 west of the 5th Meridian, approximately 11.1 acres, be rezoned from agricultural to agricultural holdings.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Carol?
I move third reading to bylaw 1241-26, proposing a portion of Northwest 2948-8 west of the 5th Meridian, 11.1 acres be rezoned from agricultural to agricultural holdings.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Alrighty. Rapido. Now we have the most exciting presentation that I've seen in a long time, accurate assessment. You guys bring your pillows? Ouch. That's just to get you fired up there. I shouldn't say that. You guys actually assess all my land. That should be a lot nicer to you guys.
Yeah, should be fine. So?
Yeah.
I got it here, Paul. Okay.
So whenever you're ready, just take it away and just carry on if you're having different presentations.
Okay. Good morning, Brazeau Council. It's us again. You're probably very familiar with our presentation over the last few years, over the last many years. We're here to present the 2025 assessment change year over year. The presentation will probably take around 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on questions, maybe less. Is there a time constraint involved? Reeve Guillaume? We will roll. Okay, we will roll. Thank you very much. I'm Bob Dodlin with Accurate Assessment Group. To my right is Ray Fortin and Sean Barrett. We'll be presenting today. The presentation will be kind of two steps. The first part will be an introduction to us, essentially, for any new eyes in the room, as well the second part will be broken into two subsequent parts. It'll be the highlights of the municipality. I'll be dictating the residential, non-residential part, and these fine gentlemen will be producing the industrial portion of the presentation. All right, so Accurate Assessment Group was founded in 1997. Everyone's very familiar with that, I'm sure. We operate at 26 rural municipalities, 6 cities, 8 towns, all 8 Métis settlements, and we're in 3 First Nations. We hope to be your trusted advisor in all things assessment related, all parts assessment related. Just as a quick note, we've got nearly 500 years of assessor experience on staff. So, and we're growing every year, of course, not only within our own existing staff, but we're also having new hires, which leads me to the next slide. There's myself. I'm the appointed assessor for Brazeau County. Jesse Nelson and Corey Allen are the boots on the ground in regards to residential assessment or the farmland assessment, the assessment out there speaking with ratepayers and such. We also have quite an array of other experts that we do rely on, as well as some new faces. There's a couple of new names in that list. I won't go over them, but they're out of grad school from Lakeland College to be assessors in training. Getting into the nuts and bolts, the 2024 assessment versus 2025 assessment versus 2024. Residential assessment increased approximately 8% year over year. That's broken into 2 parts. Part of that is going to be inflation or market change, and part of it's going to be new growth itself. Non-residential assessment, 4% increase year over year. Designated industrial property, a minor 1% gain. Linear, the same. Farmland assessment, essentially no change, which is not surprising. Farmland assessment is regulated rate, doesn't change from year to year typically unless there's physical change to the property. And then exempt assessment, which has increased by 11%. A total assessment base increase of 3%, of which just over 25% of that is residential assessment. Just over $90 million in assessment gain. This slide is a graphical depiction of the last 5 years of each of those classes, or each of those segments. Residential assessment, as you can see, has been on a steady incline since 2021, as with pretty much all of the other classes. So it's been very healthy assessment base-wise over the last 5 years. The next slide is all of those classes combined into one. So it's total assessment base change since 2021. Again, steady increase. This slide is a chart, or a table, I should say, that breaks the taxable assessment down into change and you could say stratifies it into the type of change. The important takeaway on this slide is that 82% of the taxable properties will be experiencing 10% or less change. Some of it will be up, most of it will be increase, some of it will be a decrease, depending on the circumstance that might be involved, the location within the county.
Oh, do you want questions as we go or at the end?
Absolutely. If the answer is in a further slide, I'll just delay it.
This one I don't think would be, but well, it might. I was just questioning the 10 to 25%. There was 11.4% increase there. What was that due? That's going to be a big jump. Is it obviously new buildings? So is it more on the residential side or non?
That will probably be. I don't have that exact answer. However, most of that is going to be on the residential side, I would think. It's going to be due to, could be anywhere from renovations on a property to just a hotspot within the county to the completion of a project. So that'll be the majority of that. Yeah. Pardon me. This is a similar table, except instead of percent change, it breaks it down into dollar change, which is more telling, in my opinion. Kind of gives you, I guess, a clearer picture. 10% of what number? That's the question in the previous slide, because 10% of $1,000 isn't much. But here we have actual dollar change. So again, there'll be about 77% of the taxable properties, and taxable properties means all taxable properties, can be designated industrial property or residential or farmland or whatever the case is, will be experiencing less than a $25,000 change in assessment. Again, heavily weighted on the increase just due to the market year over year. So most of the taxable properties will be going up due to market inflation, generally speaking. This table just is more of a reflection of, I guess, from an assessment perspective, the economics or the economy of what's happened over the last 5 years. New accounts is something we generally look at just to, it's a reflection of what's been going on, the activity in a county or municipality. We have 52 new accounts in 2025, and you can see how that relates to the previous years. It's on the lower side, but still within that 50 to 60 range. It's just slightly on the lower side. It doesn't really reflect the change in market for this year. Just happens to reflect possibly the new accounts or the amount of subdivisions will be part of that, as well as on the designated industrial side of things, any new accounts or new activity there. Development permits, 84. So you can see how that compares to previous years. Now, development permits will not reflect just housing starts. That's development permits worldwide, or not worldwide, but development-wide. It could be for anything from a farm building, a new garage, to a renovation of a house if they've taken it, to whatever the case is, whatever a permit is taken out on. So drilling into change in the different sectors, I guess, is, for lack of a better term, of Brazeau. I've broken Brazeau out into, you've got a hamlet market, an industrial market, a rural subdivision market, and then you've got more of a rural aspect where we've got quarter sections and 10-acre acreages and such. So we'll start with hamlets. Typically, hamlets are have a quiet market year after year. This last year, it was actually quite a strong market in the hamlet category. Land itself, anywhere from 3 to 13% increase. Now, keep in mind, hamlet land is typically low in value. It's not a high value property typically. So we're speaking of lot values that might be anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000. So 3 to 13% isn't a big dollar change year over year. Overall improved, meaning land with buildings, a 2 to 8% increase. Some standouts are Buck Creek and Violet Grove, slightly higher than that in those areas. With regards to the industrial park, Poplar Ridge Industrial Park, minimal change year over year with regards to land, and just an inflationary change with regards to buildings there. Now we'll see what happens in the coming year with oil prices going up, if that has any spin-off onto the real estate market for that specific area, but that's where it stands 25 versus 24. Now, residential subdivisions, what that definition or defines is more so the multi-parcel subdivisions that you'd find around the county. So it could be anything from River Ridge to Panorama Estates to et cetera. So land, anywhere from 4 to 7% increase for those types of properties. Standouts are Kimberly Heights and River Ridge East. And then Birchwood, actually minimal increase there. Not much at all. That was a quiet here, or is a quiet here. Overall improved, 2 to 12% increase for residential subdivisions, multi-parcel subdivisions. A couple of exceptions that might be a little bit more aggressive than that do exist. Birchwood itself, usually I like to specify that one just because it's a different property type because of being a condominium situation. 2 to 4% decrease there. So it went opposing. It opposed the general market change. Residential, rural. That's, of course, going to take up most of the geography of the county. 5 to 13% increase west of the North Saskatchewan. One standout is land west of the Pembina. this last year experienced a quite aggressive increase as per sales in that area. So I'm not sure the reasoning behind it. Maybe partly because it was always a little bit less than east of the Pembina, or quite a bit less than east of the Pembina and east of the North Saskatchewan. I'm not sure, but it sure has been attractive to buyers over the last year. Like I say, quite a substantial increase. And then property that is east of the North Saskatchewan experienced anywhere from a 3 to 9% increase in land values. Overall improved for the rural area, 4 to 8% increase. Higher west of the Pembina again. Strong market this last year. And then also higher than that on the east end of the county. So as I had mentioned earlier, when we spoke of the residential change year over year, it's broken into two parts. Part of that is in market inflation, and part of that is new growth or new construction. So we know that there was an 8% gain in residential assessment. 1.4% of that is due to new construction. And typically what I'm finding with the municipalities that I do, rurally speaking, 1 to 2% is very standard, very, I guess, the happy place for residential growth year over year. Residential inflation, 6.7% increase. So grouping everything together, the market changed 6.7%. But like I mentioned, there's hot spots, some high spots, some lower spots, but all as an average, 6.7% market increase. So if you add those two up, that's 8.1%, rounded to 8%. That's where we get the 8% from. Yes?
15.5 million, and then in 2025 is 75,
That's in market change, that's correct.
and that's just residential.
Yes, yeah. 2025 year was very similar to the 2023 assessment year.
Great, okay.
Last year, we had a slower year. It was a quiet year for market, and this year it's picked up again. This slide is a graphic of our 4-year reinspection cycle. Last year, we focused on the blue area, as you can see. The Breton area is what we call it. When we're doing this reinspection cycle, we're looking for changes to properties. We're looking for demolitions or additions, and believe it or not, sometimes these occur without permits. So in our 4-year cycle of reinspection, we will actually, if we note that there's a new garage or maybe even a new home on the property, then we make sure that it's assessed and fairness and equity is maintained throughout the county. We'll look also for statuses of properties. We'll confirm that to see if property is still being farmed or maybe is turning from non-farm to farm, et cetera. So it's those types of items. There are many other items that we look at too, or we consider. When a property trades or sells, we're actually confirming the sale when we're there as well. So we'll speak with the property owners when we need to. In many cases, there is no need because properties don't change year over year over a 4-year cycle. But sometimes they do. So this is exactly why we do this. Now, the best practice, according to the IAAO, or our International Association of Assessing Officers, is to have a reinspection cycle of 5 to 7 years. In this case, we have a 4-year reinspection cycle, so we do exceed that. 2026, you can see the focus area there. And good news there is we have gotten a jump on that reinspection cycle, and we're probably 75% through it already. So yeah, we typically try to get ahead of things when the weather is decent and get out there and get working. So that's that. Moving into my last slide, before I touch on the quick bullets here, I do want to mention kind of looking into the future with regards to assessment and the market, where residential assessment is going. Our valuation date for the 2025 assessment was July 1st, 2025. So now moving into next year's assessment, the 2026 assessment, that considers all sales that have occurred from July of last year to June 30th of this year. So what we have right now is we have approximately 9 months of sales that I was able to have a quick look at and see where the market's going. And I can tell you with fairly good certainty that the market is still on an upward trend. And for you yourselves that live here, you probably are aware of that, just looking at listings or knowing what's sold. But right now, we've got a very comparable change year over year coming compared to the 2025. It looks very, very comparable. So, you know, it's promising. Now, there's a couple of months of sales yet to go, but usually in the springtime, things are always on the upside. So again, the coming year of assessment is positive and very, very reflective of this year. The first bullet, what we'll be doing here for the next the next 12 months essentially, preparing for the upcoming assessment notice mail out, which is occurring here to my understanding right away. We'll be taking inquiries, speaking with property owners, addressing any concerns, and like mentioned earlier, we'll be scheduling inspections not only for the reinspection area, but also for the any requested inspections due to property owner concerns, etc. Next bullet, we'll be preparing the request for information letters that are sent out to property owners on the non-residential side. That'll be happening in July. We'll be conducting any property re-inspections as well, what's remaining. And then the third, come this fall, anywhere from October to December, typically we do this. We inspect all the new permits that have been processed during the year. We'll also inspect any permits that were applied for and granted last year but not started. That's something we keep tabs on. And then any incomplete construction that has occurred as of last year. Possibly a house was built up to lockup stage by December 31st. It's assessed as such for the 2025 assessment, and then it's finished through the spring. We make sure that we acknowledge that it's finished and adjust the assessment accordingly. So that concludes my part of the assessment presentation. Any questions for me before I pass it over to these gentlemen?
Carol?
Thank you for your presentation. So I actually am included in the 2026 assessment area. So I'm just curious, when you arrive on a site, on a landowner's site, do you leave information behind when you come?
Excellent question.
So that we know you're in there?
Excellent question, Mr. Reeve, if I could. If we go on site, like if we need to speak with the owner and no one's home, we will leave a callback card on the door generally. There is the odd occasion where we may not be able to, honestly, due to dogs. There is an unreal amount of pet owners in the county with big dogs, and sometimes we can't even get out of the vehicle. But yes, we will typically leave a callback card of some nature. Now, if it's deemed that, well, there really isn't any property, let's say we come to a property that's shrouded by vegetation, by trees, and we have to drive in order to be able to see the house. We drive in, we see the house, there's been absolutely no change. It was built maybe in 2019. There's been no new additions, no garages. We may just turn around and leave at that point. But usually if we have to drive right up to the house, we will leave a callback card. As well, our vehicles are marked with both Brazeau magnets as well as accurate magnets. So, and each individual assessor has an ID tag as well. So,
The big dogs always eat first. They know that when you come, you're going to take more of the landowner's money, so they're going to protect the landowner. So,
I've got the scars to prove it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. In light of time, I'm going to go fairly fast through this next set of slides, but we're going to pivot the presentation to talk about industrial assessment. So we're going to talk about oil and gas facilities, we're going to talk about linear property, etc. This is the industrial assessment team. Of course, myself, Sean Barrett, I'm here today, along with Ray Fortin, 10 team members total. all of which, except for our newest team member, are accredited assessors. Bob, of course, being your appointed assessor, is also accredited. It just means we have our professional designation beside our name, so we're quite proud of the team that we have. We perform assessments in Brazeau County of industrial property on behalf of what's called the Assessment Services Branch of Alberta Municipal Affairs. So they are ultimately responsible for all designated industrial property in Alberta, and they may delegate some municipalities to a private contractor such as ourselves. So we facilitate this on behalf of Brazeau County, on behalf of the Assessment Services Branch of Alberta Municipal Affairs. What is designated industrial property? As I mentioned, think of oil and gas type properties that may be regulated by the Alberta Energy Regulator, the Canadian Energy Regulator. There's also electric power generation that may be regulated by the Alberta Utilities Commission. So ultimately, designated industrial property is a term that covers both linear property and both industrial non-linear type property, so such as your oil and gas surface improvements and facilities. So that is what designated industrial property is. Within Brazeau County, there's just over 2,000 designated industrial properties, 2 of which are considered major plants. Major plants is just a demarcation point of an assessment that's over $30 million. One of which would be the Kieria Cynthia complex. The other one would be the Sonova Sand Creek gas plant. Just for reference, 2,200 designated industrial properties in Brazeau County. Province-wide, there's approximately 65,000. So you can see how you fit in. Just like Bob's team, we perform boots on the ground field inspections. Our team has been out in the municipality. We actually had trucks out last week. Myself, I was out 2 weeks ago. So our team is very active from an inspection side of things in the municipality as the assessment year continues. This is just a quick visual of the components of linear property. So of course, wells, pipelines, railway, telecom, electric power, as I mentioned. And then industrial non-linear type properties. These would be the properties that our team would be evaluating. These would be the properties that our team would be performing the inspections on. As Bob alluded to previously, we had a 1% increase in designated industrial property and a 1% increase in linear property assessment as well for the 24 versus 25 assessment years. This is just a quick visual, and I think the takeaway is that the regulated assessment base for industrial property within Brazeau County is fairly stable. There's some years where we've had more growth than others, or perhaps there was some capital projects that occurred, such as in 2022 and 2024, but overall, we do see a trend of stability. So how do we create new taxable properties, new taxable parcels and accounts? Through the drill pipe. So in Brazeau County, you can see here's well drilling that's occurred over the past 5 years. And we go out and we inspect these locations, create new taxable parcels. The key takeaway is that there's not a one-to-one relationship between a new well and a new surface improvement that becomes a taxable parcel. The reason is with new technologies and the way companies are drilling, lots of it is pad locations. So instead of drilling just one single well, they might drill 4 wells all the way up to 20 wells. That property creates one taxable parcel for us, not a taxable parcel for each individual well. That's why there's not the one-to-one relationship. But however, from a linear perspective, you will receive assessment for each and every well that is drilled in the municipality.
So the linear includes the vertical shaft as well as the horizontal?
It does. From my understanding, linear would include the total length of the drill pipe itself, including the horizontal lengths. That's correct. This is a chart of natural gas production. You can see the ebbs and flows from 2005 up to 2014. over the past 5 years, there has been about a 12% increase in natural gas production. If you could draw a trend line from 2020 up to today, it would show a fairly healthy increase. Again, with oil production, even more so, 23% increase over the last 5 years. If you drew a trend line from the lows in 2020 up to where we are today, you would see an increase in oil production coming from the municipality. GIS, so Geographic Information Systems. Our company has been developing this for over 25 years. In essence, when our team, it could be Bob's team, it could be the team that Ray and I lead, our team uses GIS technology. It basically layers different repositories of data. And since we have all of this industrial and regulator data at our fingertips, what it does is it really safeguards the assessment of the municipality. For example, we make sure that every single well is reconciled on an annual basis. Every single facility capital project, whether it's at a new facility or an existing facility. So our GIS and the information that we're able to see and pull is really important to the stability of the assessment base. We don't have to rely on industry reporting. We have lots of the information at our fingertips. Again, we also have a re-inspection cycle. 20% of all existing parcels, but of course, as I mentioned, 100% of all wells and facilities, either existing facilities or new facilities. If there's capital projects, our team does review those with the boots on the ground approach. Now, with that being said, we're going to pivot. I'm going to hand it over to Ray, who's going to speak about the assessment model review.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So Sean's part of the presentation, I call it where we are today, and I call my part of the presentation where we're going. So what is the assessment model review and why it matters? The assessment model review, why it matters, is 66% of your total assessment and taxable base is in regulated property. So $3 billion of your $4.5 billion is in regulated property. So we talked about industrial and we talked about linear. So it's significant. In the past, the model review, I'll talk about a little bit about past history. Minister Allard, 2020, we went through a model review consultation process that was not implemented. But there was 3 tax initiatives that were enabled at that time. Well and pipe holiday for 3 years, shallow gas tax relief was enabled, and well drilling equipment tax was eliminated as well. So what is the assessment model review? Assessment model review is updating the rules used for assessing regulated property. What are they? Well, each assessment model has a cost of construction. So let's say we are modernizing those costs of construction. What does that mean? Modernizing the cost of construction means we're going to update the rules, the actual implementation, and we're actually going to update the rates. So the stakeholders that are involved, so we have municipal and industry stakeholders. So industry stakeholders, there are 21, maybe even 22 industry stakeholders. There are 5 municipal stakeholder groups. Why that's important, RMA, Wyatt, AB Munis, Darren Reedy, LGA is Jason Walsmith from St. Paul, and ARMA is Laura Swain from Parkland County. Stephen Tays is the representative for the Alberta Assessors Association, and actually Sean and I are the technical representatives in those meetings and consultations for the Alberta Assessors Association. So why is this happening now? Well, we haven't implemented a model for 20 years. So I talked about the last one in 2020 not being implemented, but this is, in my 30 years, my 3rd attempt at a model review consultation. There's lots of construction methods. The technology used in the models have very much differed over the last 20 years, and the costs of self are significantly changed. Just by way of example, if a well was assessed right now at $2 million of construction costs, if we modernize that, that rate might be something like $5 or $6 million. So as we modernize these costs of construction, we're going to be increasing substantially the rates that are used in developing the models as well. So why are we doing this? The rules are outdated and inconsistent. So in the past, we approach how we take the cost of construction, we remove out of the costs themselves the construction cost reporting guide. What this basically does, this document, it's the foundational document to every regulated property. it removes the cost to be excluded from assessment and taxation. So there was inconsistency in the approach. We had had many judicial complaints over the past 20 years. The intent is clarifying that, is moving forward in that initiative. The intent is to be clear and more predictable and fewer disputes. So which properties are impacted? So right now there are 2 stages of the models being updated. First one is telecommunications, railway, and electric power systems. That is stage 1. Stage 2 is wells, pipelines, and machinery and equipment. Wells, pipelines, and machinery and equipment alone are, geez, I had this stat here, 2.8 billion of the 3 billion I talked about. So the first stage here that's going to happen is about 200 million in construction costs, or sorry, assessment costs, and the other second stage, well and pipeline and M&E, you can see as the vast majority of your DI property. And the last thing the minister spoke about is that we are going to create a separate category for mature assets. We don't have a lot of mature assets. It's not talking about a mature well as in, it's talking about the type of well and its production, predominantly talking about shallow gas tax relief and specifying those types of properties. The minister is going to define those properties as we move forward in the next model. 3 key policy changes being introduced: more consistent and stable, predictable assessments. One of the goals is to standardize rates. They're going to standardize rates like solar farms. We have a lot of solar farms, cost per megawatt times a rate. That'll be an example of how we standardize. Or a typical well site where we just have a single well battery, a separator type location, will have a value for that simple installation, and that's the intent. The models are to be updated on a 5-year cycle. I have heard that for 30 years. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not as optimistic that we can implement, but we have intended to do that in past years. What'll happen after this implementation is we'll update 1 to 2 models each year over that 5-year cycle, rather than right now we're doing them in 2 stages. The modernizing of the CCRGs. Again, I talked about the inconsistency, and the approach was that we had many complaints. The minister has put out some clear policy direction on the intent of that document, and hopefully that clarity will reduce the issues. The June 2026 is the intended date for that document to be sent to the consultants who worked on this. We worked on this for the last 1.5 years, Sean and I. We've been in ministers' meetings working through this. So June 2026 will be the first time we see this document. And the last policy implementation is RFI compliance. Because designated industrial property is self-reported, a lot of this information comes from industry. As Sean said, we do not rely on that. We have technology that eliminates that. However, there are bad actors. Bad actors meaning some industry companies won't report this information, and that's the safeguard in your assessment, is we know where that is and the information. The minister has now put in for designated industrial property a fine of up to $10,000, that if you are found not compliant with reporting that information. And the last part is, in the addition to that, if you don't file or file information in regards to the response, you lose your right to file a complaint. So timing and municipal impacts, 2026 for 27. These are going to be implemented. The only thing in the model review that's going to be implemented, however, is the construction cost reporting guide I talked about. The models themselves are being modernized, but will be updated at a later date. So all models are being updated with the exception of farmland. The minister has been very clear that farmland is the one regulated property that will not be updated. So we are intending to move over the next 2 years to update all the models. The 2-stage models I talked about, rail, telecom, and EPG are first, well, pipelines, and M&E second. Now the impacts of this is following the engagement, so they'll be in the next 2 years, all the models are being reviewed. We are intending, and out of the guiding principles of the AMR, was to separate assessment and tax policy. There is definitely tax policy embedded in the assessment process, and the intent of this model review is that we're going to separate that. In other words, when I talk about that $2 million well being $6 million, it's just updating the construction costs. The minute we talk about an updated construction cost, advocacy starts about, well, that's going to increase my taxation. We're keeping the models pure. They're going to update the rates. Everything's going to be clarified and updated. And then at the end of this process, we'll remove the subject matter experts, and the advocacy of the industry stakeholders and the municipal stakeholders will be left to debate the tax policy and the tax impacts. So that'll be at the end of the model reviews process. What we will know is nothing until 2028 for 2029. So many municipalities, this is like my 10th, 15th presentation. When will we know this information? It'll be a long time before we know the impacts of what assessment and tax policy will be. Where are we at right now? We are in between stage 2 and stage 3. As you can see, designing the plan was stage 1, 2023. I said 2 years we've been working at it. We are right at that line right now, is actually June of 2026. So we're moving into stage 3, and 28 will be stage 4. With that, I open the floor to questions for Sean or I, or for Bob on any part of the presentation.
Kara?
Thank you. I have so much to say about this one, but I'll try and keep it high level. I think what this council needs to be aware of, I'm going to remove my RMA hat because I do have a lot of details. I work, Wyatt Squavern is our policy, the head of our advocacy department is actually on this file, and he could probably, actually in the same with you gentlemen, talk about this for 3 days. But key concerns, and I want council to be aware of, is, and it's more the political considerations that we're facing. And I think the team in front of us did a great job to highlight. There's 5 municipal partners at the table. And this is, and how many industry? I believe
21.
Yeah, 21 industry partners at the table. So this, let's be very clear, is being driven by industry. And if we've seen any decisions lately in the last few years coming out of this government, is not favored the residents, it's actually been favoring industry, not only on this subject but others. So keep that in the back of your head. The other key political consideration is we have not a municipal, but a provincial election coming up next year. That will definitely play a factor into this. I think we did a great job of trying to stay to the point of this, but what I really want people to keep an eye on and be very well aware that this is, while RMA is doing the best that we can, this is being industry-led. And we can all in this room understand industry doesn't want to pay taxes, and they think they're paying too much now. So keep that in the back of your head.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments. It's a tough room, I gotta admit it. It's a very outweighed balance room, and that's fine. We're used to this, third model review at this. We do appreciate the support of the municipal organizations. We're there as subject matter experts only. The advocacy is left to LGA, ARMA, AB Munis, and RMA. There is a significant amount of costs and support from those groups, which I do appreciate. But you're right, it's a very outweighed balance. And yeah, as we get out of the gate, there's lots of advocacy and such, but I'm really optimistic this time keeping the assessment and tax policy separate is the intent, that we will actually get through the model reviews. I'm optimistic about that, but we have a long ways to go over the next 2 years. Appreciate those comments.
Yeah, and some of the conversations that this table may or may need to have, and that we should be prepared is if this does go in the way of industry, what are we going to do? Are we going to expect the residential or the residents of this municipality to pick up the shortfall, or are we going to be cutting services? That's what's going to be. That's how we're going to be left holding the bag as elected officials. Is if we keep up the level of service, then the shortfalls that we've lost on the industry side have to be made up somewhere. And these are significant. I think you've done a great job outlining our tax base in this county. We are driven by industry, not by residential. That is actually not the case in a lot of municipalities in the province, particularly urbans. And you know how much trouble they are in for infrastructure deficit. We know what our infrastructure deficit is on the rural side too as well. But there is going to be some very difficult decisions, I think, coming in the next few years. We've talked about viability of municipalities in this province and forced regionalization. These are things that we need to have a discussion about and be prepared to face in the future.
That's a huge broad picture, but ours, when we went through the assessment and things like that, we've had a steady increase in revenue. We haven't had that drop or loss that Kara's talking about. But in the rest of the province, there's lots of those issues.
Yeah, this part of this presentation, I've presented DI property. Some municipalities 40% of tax base. I've also presented 90% of the tax base this year. So very significant. You have a very diverse still municipality. Some are sole source towards designated industrial property, and the impacts of the DI will be felt significantly in some of those municipalities, particularly Southern Alberta, Central Alberta. Lots of erosion of designated industrial property, lots of abandonments, low producing wells, those municipalities really suffer. And so part of those presentations for Sean and I aren't as comfortable because we're going in there with a substantial decrease in the assessment, just the way it is. So every presentation is different, and you're right. Many municipalities are going to challenge by declining asset base and assessment, but in most part, this municipality over 30 years I've presented, it's always been a growth municipality.
The other point too, I think we should focus on is there is a conversation, and the idea is being floated out about centralized rates across the province, which again is a blow to local autonomy and being able to set our tax rates and where we need them to be at to meet the demand for services in our communities. So for an example, here in Brazeau County, we're one of the youngest municipalities in the province. We need that flexibility to be able to bring in the dollars to build the infrastructure where some of the the majority of the municipalities in this province are ahead of us in infrastructure because they've just been in existence longer than we have. And I mean, Rave, you talked a lot about it, that we've got a lot of roads to be built, but they've got to be paid for somehow. And that's what taxation's for, and that's why municipalities exist. But if you take our ability away to set those rates and set boundaries on them, then how do we build the infrastructure? Then will we go back to the province again with our handout? I believe we did have a local company very publicly to tell us $163 million in royalties have left this area from one particular company. And what do we get back here? We get highways falling apart. Go down, I challenge anybody to go drive down Highway 621 right now, and we get nothing.
Yeah, our roads die by wearing out. They don't die of old age. So if County 40 mile will get 40 miles or 40 years out of a line of pavement. We get 18, maybe 20 kind of thing. So our roads wear out, they dish out, they get, rutting. And so there is a difference across. That's Kara's talking about, that it's all different, and having a consistent rate, you might as well join Russia. I didn't think we had the red square on yet.
No comment on Russia.
Okay. Anyway, thanks.
I just
Thanks.
had one question.
Go ahead, Glenn.
So a topic was questions, so not soapbox, but I'm going to just ask one question. This regulated property assessment model, it's meant to reduce appeals from what I understand. So my question is, how many appeals have we had? And I don't know if this is to Sean or Ray. How many appeals did we have in 2025? So I have that number, I can take to my MLA and go, we had that many appeals. I understand this is meant to correct that.
That's a good question, but it's essentially nothing in this regard in this municipality. So there's two ways the assessments are prepared. One is prepared by the cost of construction, so a large facility like a major plant. There's about 350 of those in the province. So reported costs and the actual costs are then excluded using CCRG. That has been the basis of contested arguments on the interpretation of that document. So the 350 plants, there are two. The remainder of the assessment of designated industrial property is done using regulated rates and manuals. That has not been the basis of litigation and contesting the rates. It has been the properties, the more significant, larger size, based on actual cost of construction. So in two ways we prepare the assessment. In this municipality, because we only have two of those, there's not as much of an issue. But when we talk about oil sands, pulp mills, other facilities in Alberta, that is where the litigation and complaints have arisen, and the costs associated with those.
So we haven't had any appeals in Brazeau County?
Not in regards to the CCRG, no.
Thank you.
On that note, one of the pulp mills up north did go through the process, and I think you're probably aware of, I can't remember which municipality.
Last week I was in a complaint, and I have the next 3 days in another pulp mill complaint.
Is it Fairview? They ended up having to pay back millions. And then they also had to pay back their seniors rec too, because they taxed, the company went and fought it, won, and they had to pay the company back, but also the school, not the school rec, sorry, the housing foundation rec, and I believe it was over $3 million. In an already tight budget, they were gonna have to borrow to pay it back.
Yeah, so caution how much I say, but in essence, forestry and pulp industry have filed complaints over the last few years. There are 6 pulp mills in Alberta, of which they're all under complaint. We are resolving some of them by joint resolution, and some of them are in litigation. They're 2 weeks at a time. But yes, you are correct. There have been reductions through the LPRT, which is the complaint process. The boards have given reductions to those facilities particularly. There are also another 10 to 15 properties, oil sands, other SAGD facilities that are under complaint, but predominantly there are a large number of pulp and forestry complaints right now in some municipalities. Correct.
Thanks for coming out, you guys. You did a good job of presenting, very clear. You know, I've seen enough of your presentations there, so thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm late again. Is there anybody here in regards to public input? Anybody online? Okay, so I open public input and I close public input all at the same time. What's that? Rob, you're here for public input, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to hear the discussion regarding what you talked about last week.
Okay, well, we'll, I think we're going into that here right now, because we've done just about everything else except for general matters. And so we did search and rescue. The next item is the DV Foundation. You just want to have input on?
Yeah, just kind of like, you know, just, I wanted to hear the discussion, and that way if I'm here to take away that I need to take, so I can start working on stuff, and I have that information firsthand.
As far as us, I'm just trying to think here. We had promised the town that we would deal with this today, as far as a letter of support. I don't know if there's anything else that was added to that agenda, Rudy?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so, Reeve.
Okay.
That was the one that came out of the Friday morning meeting where we had the two councils, Drayton Valley and Brazeau, and we had the presentation from the Drayton Valley Foundation.
Okay. So if you want to come up and chat in regards, because that's on the agenda right now, do we have to make a motion to let him speak, or we're in public input? Okay,
I'll do that.
go ahead, Glenn.
I move to approve to allow Rob Mulligan speak on behalf of the Drayton Valley Community Foundation on a funding request.
Okay, so whatever you want to say, feel free. Have you got an ask? Do you have oh yeah, all those in favor?
Yeah, I don't think I have a specific ask, other than the ask that was given on, I think it was Friday's meeting or Thursday's meeting, just for that letter of support. We're trying to get our application in by the end of this month here, and we know that our application is stronger with that letter of support from both municipalities. So that is the official ask, is just a letter of support. No real commitment one way or the other. I'm going to start talking to user groups and figuring out what everybody kind of wants in that facility in case the project were to proceed. And then outside of that, if there was any additional ask from Brazeau County to us that I can get working on, then I'd like to take that away today as well.
Thank you. Through the chair to Rob, just some clarification from the meeting on Friday. You talked about having letters of support from other user groups. Can you just name those user groups, please?
Yeah, so the ones, I don't have the list in front of me here, but from the ones I remember off a hand, I have the Pickleball Association, the Disc Golf Association, Minor Baseball, Minor Hockey, Slow Pitch, Men and Women's Rugby, what else would there be? The Royals Volleyball Club. And the only one that I attempted to get was soccer. I talked to Russ Kelly in regards to soccer, and he said that he wasn't comfortable signing a letter until he sat down with his entire board, and because it was before the long weekend, he didn't have that opportunity. I did talk to him. I'm proposing a meeting this Thursday for user groups where the developer would come out and actually present what the options would be to those groups, and he said that he would be in attendance at that meeting if it were to proceed. Officially, no, I guess. I kind of used the term in that meeting the other day. It's kind of a little bit above my pay grade. I don't know what the political process is beyond this. The hope is that we get that grant money awarded to us come September. So my hope would be that both municipalities took whatever steps they needed to between now and then to move on that project. We talked lots about being shovel-ready, not shovel-ready, that type of thing. And so to me, you know, in my non-political mind, next steps would be if there needs to be a feasibility study, I would love to see that happen. If there needs to be some sort of soil testing, I'd love to see that happen, just in case we were to be successful in that grant. And if we were to be successful in that grant and we were to propose it back to you guys, saying like, okay, here's where we are money-wise and here's where we need to be, and you guys had to have that larger conversation of whether or not that you were willing to fund it, then, of course, to then put in hurdles at that point in time, I think would be a bit of a misstep. So that would be my hope, but I don't know what it takes to get us from point A to point B.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Aria.
Oh, Kara's
Oh,
got it.
Kara?
Just one comment. The only way I would support this is I have no problem sending a letter of support, but it needs to be clearly defined in that letter that there's no contributions at this point. You need to make that very clear,
Okay.
that this is not budgeted for this year. We do not have room in our budget. And if we did, we'll be looking at borrowing.
That motion should also have some part of it. It's an ACI grant, correct?
I believe that's the term.
So yeah, and it's for a sports zone, so that motion should have ACI grant, letter of support for the ACI grant for a sports zone in Drayton Valley.
So do you want to do the motion master there and craft it here from council's point of view?
Is it fair, and again, I don't know, but like if we were gonna, like the other grant that we're proposing is the CFEB grant as well. Can we get one that would like support both those grant applications?
Through that, just because I have experience with CFEP, do you have the money in the bank already? Because in order to apply for CFEP, the matching funds have to be in the bank the day of that you apply.
Yeah, well, we don't have it in them today, but the expectation is that the money would be available
Okay.
at that time of application.
Because I do
think
know
we
that
have
with
until
CFEP,
end
so
of
if you're applying for $1
September.
million, you have to provide financial documentation that you already have another $1 million set
Yeah,
aside, so.
and the
But
community
you could get
foundation's in a
creative
position.
because you've got money in the foundation.
Yeah, we're in a position to make that claim.
Does that cover what you're looking for?
Yeah, you betcha. Other than the CFEB component.
Anybody else got any input? You good with that motion, Aria?
He was asking me. I move to direct administration to write a letter of support for the DV Community Foundation to apply for funding for ACI and CFEP grant for a sports dome with the understanding that the county is not committing to funds at this time.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks. Thanks, Rob.
That's great, yeah, thanks, guys. And then again, reach out to me personally or whatever the deal is, if there is other things that you can think of that I need to check off the list for you guys to be more comfortable with this. I got nothing but time, so. Okay, thanks, guys.
Call the meeting back to order. Did we have anything left here? Just general matters right now? Yeah.
And then the brief closed.
Pardon me?
And then the brief closed session.
Yeah. So somebody wanna, these ones here, we have to give our description of what happened? Okay. All right, so we'll start out with, who's municipal planning? Who's the chairman there?
Anthony, but I could do it for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So we approved a subdivision of 6.27 acres on southeast 3148.8 and a 14.9 acre subdivision at southeast 1548.7. We were told that there was going to be a development appeal due on May 19th, which was the day of our meeting regarding a property in Lindale. But the paperwork hadn't been submitted yet. I assume it has been by now. Member Carol Volk gave a report on our attendance at the CPAA conference and noted that there would be a lot of value in having Brazeau staff attend the event, noting other municipalities sent in their planning staff for the expert sessions. The next MPC meeting is scheduled for June 9th, 2026. The West Central Airshed meeting, it was on April 30th. This was a virtual meeting chaired by the Vice Chair, Donna Wiltsey, as the chair has resigned. The upcoming AGM was going to be in person with a ribbon cutting at a new air monitoring station at Wabamun, but there's been delays in getting that approved, so that AGM will also be done virtually June 3rd at 10 a.m. There are several board positions opened up, the chair, the vice chair, and a couple of others, so there'll be some opportunities there to apply for those. West Central Airshed held an open house in Jasper on April 27th to try to get the public on board with setting up a permanent air monitoring station in town. Like we said, it's just temporary right now. And then that's got to be removed, so, because there's no funding for it. There's no industry in Jasper. And that's one of the hurdles to getting a permanent station set up. I thought maybe once the proposed Wonder Valley AI data center gets set up and running, it would exhaust 4.7 megatons of carbon dioxide per year. And with Jasper only being 220 kilometers away, it might be a better case for having a 24/7 monitoring station. West Central Airshed has also been shortlisted for an Emerald Award, and they'll be sending some of the staff to Calgary June 4th. I would go, but FCM conflicts with that. At the rec board meeting, that was held April 27th at the Ricochet Aquatic Center. We were told that the Northern Thunder Classic Card Club reached out to the town and requested to be included in some upcoming events, anything that would be, applicable to them. And they noted Canada Day would be one of them. They just feel a little left out. There is discussion around the Drayton Valley Egg Society request for the support to repair the Lions Park rodeo grounds, which we later have approved that for that sand. For the upcoming events calendar, we discussed the slow pitch grand opening and barbecue April 30th. I went to that, so did Councillor Westerland and Councillor Volk. I don't know if anyone else did. There was a couple from the town. Otherwise, there was a good attendance to that. And they have a brand new pad, asphalt pad, a cement pad, and an overhead picnic area that they built. I also asked them about the washrooms and kitchen to see if it's being well used. I know that the county built, or somehow somebody built it's a nice a washroom. And they said that actually nobody seems to be using it at all, including the soccer foundation. So it's a bit of a head scratcher why that facility doesn't get used, but yeah, the soccer prefers to bring in portables, as does the slow pitch. They did note that they think there's a water leak inside the building when they go by. So the Joint Recreation Master Plan is close to being released. They did have about 300 citizen engagements, and they should be making a joint presentation to council. The meeting finished with a tour of the pool, including the mechanical systems and chemical injections and overflow tanks. It's a very well-built facility and well-designed. The boilers, water softeners, filters, control valves, plumbing, and automation in the basement look very similar to what I would have found in a typical gas plant. The pool is recruiting a new aquatics manager. The prior one is moving on. I'm done.
All done? Shane?
From my side of things, we did have the Aerodrome's AGM was the other night. Unfortunately, my dogs got into a porcupine on my way to the AGM, so I had to go home, and unfortunately, one of them had to go to the vet. So I unfortunately missed that one. I'm just waiting for them to send me the minutes. We did do the weed school last week, which was very informative from a counselor point of view. Just some numbers, there are 95 regulated weeds, 51 are prohibited, and 44 are noxious. There's about 100 people in attendance. We had everybody from Wheatland, Parkland, Ladue County. Really well done. They kind of covered the whole array of what they have to do in terms of even dealing with people and dogs, everything to weed spraying. One note is a lot of these, I'm glad that they went into such detail about even how to like deal with angry residents or dogs, because it was a lot of young people there. Like this is their first job, so it was good, and I think we really showcased Brazeau County there. So that's all I got. ASB is tomorrow, so if anybody wants to come out for ASB, come say hi.
I guess, Carol, you're next.
Okay, so Brazeau Foundation, their last meeting was May 7th. Brazeau Foundation is continuing to pursue opportunities to facilitate a new build to enhance the seniors' well-being in our community. They got many irons in the fire right now, so we're not giving out any specifics. Just wanted to reiterate the vacancy report as of April 30th is as follows, with approximately 95 individuals on the waiting list. So the Wishing Well has 12 people on the waiting list, and all 42 spots are filled. Leisure Lee, out of 17 units, we have 14 further that are on the waiting list for that facility. Spruce View Court, which is in Breton, has 18 units, and we have 4 people on the waiting list for those. Rocky Rapids Housing has 4 units, and we've got 5 people on the waiting list for one of those 4 units. Shangri-La has 81 units, and we have 60 people on the waiting list for that, and the rental assistant clients are sitting at 40 right now. So in total, we have about 95 people on a waiting list for some kind of housing. That's about all I have on the Brazeau Foundation. We will meet again in June. Pembina Energy Synergy, our last meeting was March 26th, so we haven't had a meeting since my last report. So I have nothing new to add on that. Our next scheduled meeting is May 28th. And that's all I've got.
Aria?
Okay. I'll just hop over Ag Service Board, and can I do that? Sure. Is everyone all right? The Yellowhead Regional Library, we had an executive meeting May 11. Nothing really of too much note. We went over some policies, and we're just doing a bit of cleanup. It was a pretty short meeting, actually, and our next one isn't until August 31st, so we have a bit of a break there. And then I'll have a regular board meeting next month. And then on to the Drayton Valley Library. We haven't had a meeting since my last report, but we do have one this Thursday. I've invited Carla, the director from YRL, to come just speak a bit on Bill 28 so that everyone has a better understanding from the library perspective, and just a bit of board director dynamics for our library board and the library director in town. And what else? She's just going to give a YRL update, so that's exciting that she'll be coming. And then FCSS, we haven't had a meeting since my last report, and the next meeting is to be determined, the date. So yeah, very little for me to report.
Kara?
No meetings. I have EPAC tomorrow night.
On either committee. Eleanor Pickup's no meeting, and Warehouser? Huh?
Eleanor Pickup is tomorrow night, and nothing from Warehouser.
Okay. Dallas?
Yes, sir. No meetings, no reports.
Okay. Board Guion, Dallas, we had a meeting on the 14th, I think it was. quite a long meeting. We had one application that was fairly large, and we turned it down for a number of different reasons, although we did find some funding for about half of what the applicant applied for. Warward Seed Cleaning, no meeting. Technology Innovation, one coming up, I think, the 1st of June, but no meeting since the last time. Mayor's Task Force, they did have a meeting, but somehow I didn't have it in my calendar, so I screwed up. And that's about it. Pardon me? Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay, meeting dates. Oh, a motion to approve all the reports, committee reports. Carol,
I move to receive all the committee reports as presented.
discussion. All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Meeting dates, CAMUS. What's CAMUS stand for?
Central Alberta and Medical Imaging Systems.
Well, that's on page 64. Okay, so there's meeting dates there. Who would be going to that?
I would like to attend.
I would also like to attend, yeah.
What's the excitement about this that I don't know?
It is, I think it's exciting. It's,
Just the opening?
yeah, it's an opening for those services to be done here. A lot of these type of tests, you have to go to the city for Devon. So this is actually, it's quite good news for our community. Less travel done in our community. I move to approve authorize council's attendance at the Drayton Valley Open House at the Central Alberta Medical Imaging Services.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Invitation for council to attend the Ponoka Stampede. What's your thoughts with this one? Shane?
I don't know, I've gone to the Ponoka Stampede for several years. It's good to go to.
But does it have much for political meetings and things?
With Fortis there, possibly. There are, from my understanding, there's some, I thought there was gonna be a minister there, but I'd have to double check.
I've been in the past before. There was no minister there last year, and I think maybe one MLA. I've attended in the past, not through the county.
Oh, sorry, I should have said MLA, not minister.
From a county perspective, I don't know if you see a value in this or not.
Great rodeo.
Yeah, but we're not down there to have fun. We're down there to have work.
Work is fun.
So I would suggest we don't go to this one. Aria?
Just a note too, we'll be at Stampede the following week, so.
Right.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Motion to receive that request for information. Anybody? Glenn?
I do think the parade is kind of neat. I've never been to the Ponoka Stampede, but I think I spoke to the minister, Cyril Turton, and he was in it, and he told me that that day he wore his Brazeau County socks that day for the parade. But I don't know what benefit there would be if there's, I've never been to it, I wouldn't have a clue. You know, it's not a bad idea to send somebody. If somebody wants to go and give a report back, I'd be curious to know what it's like if Shane wants to go. It's a long bus ride. I wouldn't be interested in driving to Spruce Grove and taking a bus to Ponoka and then coming back and all that, but it's up to council.
I just don't see any Brazeau County value, except for taking a look what they're doing. You know, I normally support just about anything with you guys that you want to do, but I think that's pushing it, the Ponoka Stampede. Kara?
Yeah, this isn't to take in all the events. It's just to go to the Fortis event they're hosting. That's it.
Kara, your light's still on?
Okay.
Glenn?
I move to receive the Brazeau County invitation to celebrate the 90th Ponoka Stampede with Fortis as information.
All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Invitation for Reeve to bring greetings to the 4-H.
I move to authorize the Reeve and our designate to bring greetings on behalf of council at the opening ceremonies of the 4-H Beef Interclub Achievement Day on May 25th.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Are you able to go, Bart?
Yeah, I'm open right now, that's for sure. That's at 9 o'clock I've got in my calendar. But if something changes, I'll let you know.
Yeah, no, because I can't go. I have to, actually, I could make it that morning. Yeah, I could do, actually. I got invited to the Western Premiers.
I think that's the more important one to be at here.
But it's in the evening, and I'm going
Yeah.
down later, so I can do it if you can't go, but I need to know now so that I can arrange my schedule that day.
Okay. Ratification of the dome disease discussion?
I move to ratify council's attendance at the joint council, Town of Drayton Valley, DV Community Foundation discussion on May 25th, or geez, May 15th. I'm struggling with dates today.
Discussion, all those in favor? Now, where did I steal that line from?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was a meeting, I think, at an RMA, and Ralph Klein was speaking. And half the ministers, or 3/4 of the ministers, were there, and he says, who's looking after the province? And, you know, you guys are all getting dome disease, you know, so. I was waiting to use that one, like, now 15 years. All right, I guess closed, unless I missed something, folks.
I can make that motion?
Then we need a motion to go into closed for.
Coming from enclosed. Just turn your mic on so it's recorded. Bart didn't turn his mic on, but Bart is, there you go.
I have to declare a conflict and a pecuniary interest in regards to this application.
Okay. Excellent.
I move to direct administration to proceed with the sale by tender of the county-owned lots in Cynthia on the condition that permanent residential properties be constructed on these lots within 5 years.
Any questions? All those in favor? That was carried unanimous. Grab Bart, and then we have one final motion. Well, we're still waiting for you. You can assume the chair and you need to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay, I'll assume the chair, you guys did your business.
I'm-
Need a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion to adjourn the county council meeting of May 19th at 1:57.
That clock's off 5 minutes, so.
1:55.
12:56.
Okay,
12:56.
discussion, all those in favor? All right. Another efficient meeting.